My goal is to bring to you a fresh perspective on all things related to how humans develop their individual brilliance while navigating the excitement, stickiness, and resistance in their relationships. In my 40 years of working as a psychotherapist and consultant, I've been continually amazed at the ways in which people overcome challenges. I hope to share my experience and insights so you can find the magic in your relationships. My hope in this show is to answer questions and challenges you are facing in your relationships. There are several ways you can ask me a question. You can send me a question by mail at mercy@leadershipwithmercy.com. This gives you anonymity since I will not share the identity of the listener asking the question. I often disguise the identity of the listener by changing details while addressing the problematic dynamic. My answers will be available during the live show, as well as on the KKNW podcasts and the KKNW YouTube channel. In addition, I post transcripts of the shows on my website, leadershipwithmercy.com. Please don't be shy about asking questions. I recognize that it can take courage to call into a radio show, especially about personal matters. I have rarely heard a unique dilemma. Your question will help other people listening to the show. Plus, this allows me to know what interests you. I'm interested in all corners of human behavior and relationships. So I need your help to know how I can address what troubles and intrigues you. Eventually, I hope to have listeners call into the show. I'm excellent on the spot, knowledgeable and intuitive. As a listener, I get so much more from a conversation between the host and the caller. So in my show today, my guest is Dr. Daryl Green. Welcome, Dr. Green.
¿Cómo está? Ni hao?
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning. Dr. Green is the Dickinson Chair of Business Professor, is the Dickinson Chair of Business Professor at Oklahoma Baptist University in Oklahoma City. After a 27-year career as a mechanical engineer at the Department of Energy, he pivoted to a leadership role in higher education in business management. This morning, we will talk about his career path and his recently, and we'll touch upon his recently released book, Mapping Out Your Life After Retirement, 100+ Ways to Pursue Your Purpose, which clearly Dr. Green is doing. So we're gonna, what I like to do in starting with these interviews is to talk and introduce the audience to you and your background, kind of get a place. That's how I think about my, conversations with people. I do want to mention that before recording this show, Dr. Green and I have had a lively conversation about a hot topic, and in the world of sports and higher education. And I want to touch on this later in our conversation. And this will give you a chance to see how Dr. Green and how I might think about very emotional but important and visible topics that we're so used to in our culture today. So, Dr. Green, I'd like to start by just asking you a little bit about your background. So could you just tell the audience a little bit about where you grew up, your family? Just let us know who you are, where you come from. I think it's really important in these days.
Well, Mercy, I really, again, appreciate you having me. I'm originally from Shreveport, Louisiana. Was raised by two Christian individuals. My parents, my dad was a janitor. My mother was a chauffeur. My dad had a third grade education, and but they taught us that we can do anything with God's help. And so graduated from Southern University in mechanical engineering. Southern University is in Baton Rouge. I think it's the greatest university in the world. Human Youth Box, the band is powerful. I met my wife there, Estrelita, She graduated in civil engineering. We were dating at the time. Just wanted to be together. Wanted to do management, and we had an opportunity. And my wife at the time was my girlfriend. They took her to Washington State Department of Energy, who, by the way, focuses. There's a big focus on nuclear energy, nuclear waste, and they flew her 3,000 miles away to Washington State. I told her the only way you're gonna go up there is you got to have your man with you. And so they called me the next day, said, we'd like to hire you. I said, I can't make that decision. So I talked to Estrelita. They flew her to my state, made a decision that we were gonna go to Washington State. My wife's from Alabama, I'm from Louisiana. All hell broke loose in our families because they could not understand why in the world would you like to go 3,000 miles away from family and friends. But it was a special place. Spent 5 years there, got off the plane. That was before the internet. There was an encyclopedia said Washington State was the Evergreen State, and I know you talked about spending time in Seattle, but I was in Eastern Washington. It was a desert. There was 0.9% African Americans. It wasn't even 1%. I had to ship grits. I had to ship
ship grits.
Ship grits.
Ship grits. That's an expression you taught
grits.
me, right? You
Yeah.
had to,
So for those that are not Southern, it's kind of like a Malta meal if you're from the northern states.
we all know
But
what
grits and hair products, I didn't need it, but my wife did. And I spent 5 years there, and then transferred to Knoxville, Tennessee, managing nuclear and non-nuclear projects, like you said, 27 years. But I wanted more out of life. Went back to school, got my master's degree, went back to school, got my doctor's degree, and make it short, I made a transition.
Now, just a second, Daryl. Can I switch to Daryl?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Green,
Yeah,
Daryl.
yeah.
So while you're working as an engineer, you were going into getting masters and a doctorate, but not in engineering, but in leadership, business management.
Yeah, so that's a story. I had a chance to do some engineering back when I was in Washington State, and I'm a people person, as you can tell. And so it's just that we were managing, and so it's all about relationships. So your show is all about relationships, and really to be successful, it's all about building relationships. I have managed and overseen some of the world's smartest people in the world, and some of them, they were butts. They were awful folks. So it's all about building relationships. And so I'm a problem solver. And so I wanted more. I was making good money. Is what we say, the kids say, we making good cheddar. But I wanted more out of life. And so I like solving problems. And so I thought I was going to go back to school. I actually thought I went to the University of Tennessee, talked to them. I thought I was going to teach. I thought I was going to be a middle school teacher teaching math. But they told me I had to quit my job, and I wasn't gonna do that because I have 3 kids. So I wasn't quitting my job. But I went into management like that. I went back to school, working my doctorate, and my doctorate's in strategic leadership. So I believe in developing the next stream of leaders, that if we improve our decision making, we can improve our life. And so that's what really turns me on, helping people make decisions, improving their life. And that is where the leadership part of that comes from. That answer that question? How I got into that?
Yeah. So as you were doing this, you were in the position you had in the Department of Energy. This was all material that you could apply because you were in management, right?
Yes, exactly. But one of the things that got me is that I wanted more impact. In the federal government, you could work 20, 30 years, and somebody administration changed, all the work that you did got changed in one stroke of a pen.
Right.
And then it takes like maybe it takes 100 years to get things done sometimes. And so I wanted more impact. And I did, when I got my master's degree, I did do some adjunct work at Knoxville College, the historical Black college in Tennessee, the only East Tennessee historical Black college there. Did that, working with underserved students like that. Got another opportunity to teach at a different school. And so I was encouraged. So I kind of like that. And what was, I guess, a epitome for me was one of my colleagues that I wrote some scholarly work with, Dr. Gary Roberts, mentioned, have you ever thought about doing teaching full-time? I said, no, because I like consulting, I like solving problems, I like teaching, I like writing, and I could do all those things. And so got my doctorate degree in 2009, thought God was going to take me away, but he didn't. I was still there. And in 2015, I became dedicated. I had applied over maybe 169 jobs.
This is, so you were applying then for.
I started applying
for academic positions.
For academic positions.
Yeah.
And in 20, so I applied on 169, got interviewed at Purdue. So that made me think, hey, I could make it. I was in contention in other places. But there was something special about Oklahoma Baptist University. For one thing, they brought my wife and myself there. So that was very attractive. Normally we're going on visit trips.
Oh yeah.
They only bring the person that they consider, but they brought my wife and gave her a tour.